Imagine you're sitting alone in a dark room, the only light on your face coming from the cold blue glow of your computer screen. Numbers flicker. Candlesticks in green and red rise and fall like the heartbeat of an invisible giant. You hold your breath. You pray. You stare at the chart and whisper, please, just go up. But then, like an emotionless executioner, the market turns. A long, brutal red candle emerges and swallows everything: your hope, the money you spent years saving, and worse than all of that, the confidence you once had. You slump back and ask yourself where it all went wrong. You're smart, right? You've read dozens of books, studied hundreds of technical indicators, analyzed every detail. So why is the result always the same? Loss after loss. Maybe you're chasing a holy grail. Maybe deep inside, you still believe there's a secret formula out there, a perfect trading system that wins 80%, 90%, even 100% of the time. You think the wizards on Wall Street, those sitting in skyscrapers across Manhattan, have some crystal ball that lets them see the future? If you're nodding, even unconsciously, then let me give you a harsh truth, a truth that might hurt, but is the only antidote that can save your trading life. You are on the wrong path, and that path only leads to one destination: going broke. The most brutal truth of Wall Street that no one tells you is this: the people who make the most money, the legends you admire, are wrong far more often than you think. In fact, they are wrong more often than you. So why are they billionaires while you're still trying to recover from your losses? The difference isn't their ability to predict. The difference is how they deal with being wrong. We were programmed incorrectly from childhood. Think back to school. To succeed, you had to be right. Get 9 out of 10 answers correct, you're a top student. Get 5 wrong, you're considered weak. We grew up believing mistakes equal failure, shame, and incompetence. Then we drag that top student mindset into the financial markets. We crave being right. Every time we enter a trade, we want the market to validate our intelligence. And when the market goes against us, instead of accepting that the probability just didn't favor me this time, we feel insulted. Our ego screams. We refuse to close the losing trade because we can't stand admitting we were wrong. And that's when your account begins to bleed to death. But Wall Street is not a classroom. There are no grades for being right. The market doesn't care whether you have a PhD or never finished high school. It doesn't care how carefully you analyzed anything. It is chaotic, irrational, and wild. Trying to predict every move in the market is like trying to predict the flight path of a leaf in a hurricane. Purely impossible. And those who attempt the impossible pay with their entire fortune. So what is the real secret? Listen carefully, because this is the kind of truth that usually costs traders years of pain to understand. You don't need to be right to make money. Sounds insane, doesn't it? But George Soros, the man who broke the Bank of England, once said, "It's not whether you're right or wrong. It's how much you make when you're right and how much you lose when you're wrong." Think about that. A legendary trader may be right only 30 or 40% of the time. In 10 trades, they're wrong 6 or 7 times. In school, they'd be held back a grade. But in finance, they're kings. Why? Because when they're wrong, and they know they'll be wrong often, they treat it like a tiny scratch. They cut the loss immediately. They discard that losing trade without emotional attachment. They lose $1. But when they're right, the rare 30%, they squeeze every drop out of the trend. They make $5, $10, maybe $20. Do the simplest math. You lose 7 times, each for $1, $7 lost. You win 3 times, each for $5, $15 gained. 15 minus 7, you still profit $8. You're a terrible loser in terms of frequency. You're wrong more than you're right, and your account still grows. That is the great paradox of this game. Lose often, win big. But the crowd does the opposite. You probably have too. When you catch a small profit, your heart races. You fear the market will take it back, so you exit quickly. You eat like an ant. But when you're in a losing trade, you become stubborn. You hold. You justify. You hope. You turn a small loss into a disaster. You lose like an elephant. The crowd fears when it should be greedy, and is greedy when it should fear. To join the 5% who win, you must undergo a painful mental surgery. You must kill the version of yourself that needs to be right. You must learn to love small losses. Treat them as the cost of doing business. just like electricity, water, rent for a coffee shop. You don't cry when you pay the electric bill, do you? So why cry when you cut a loss? There's an old story about a veteran trader. When asked for his secret to success, he simply smiled and said, "I'm a professional loser." He explained that every morning he wakes up fully prepared to lose. He knows the market will trick him. And because he accepts that beforehand, a losing trade never surprises him. He cuts it, moves on, and waits patiently. He doesn't let the pain of the previous loss poison the next decision. He is like an alligator lurking in the swamp, patient, cold, emotionless. The alligator may miss its prey many times, but one perfect strike feeds it for an entire month. But you trade like a panicked gazelle. You chase every price movement. Green, buy, red, sell. You want to catch every wave. You want to be right every time. And that obsession with perfection is the noose tightening around your neck. Remember, in a probabilistic world, nothing is certain. A perfect candlestick pattern can still fail. A piece of overwhelmingly positive news can still cause a drop. If you risk your entire capital on a single trade because you believe it must win, you're gambling, not investing. Wall Street is filled with the graves of overconfident geniuses. The survivors are the humble ones, those who accept that they can be wrong at any moment. And that humility, that willingness to be wrong, is the strongest shield of all. So from this moment on, redefine what winning means. Winning is not a long list of green trades. Winning is surviving the losing streak, so you're still alive to catch the big move. Winning is cutting a bad trade with calm discipline. No regret, no frustration, maybe even a smile because you followed your rules. That's when you stop being a gambler. That's when you begin thinking like the house. The house never fears you winning a single hand. It knows that as long as you stay long enough, probability favors them. They have the edge of large numbers. You must build that same edge. And it doesn't come from predicting the market. It comes from managing risk and reward. Accept losing one to make 3, 4, 5. Accept being slapped by the market 5 or 7 times because one clean punch back takes everything and more. Do not let the fear of losing paralyze you. Do not let your ego blind you. Release the need to prove yourself. The market doesn't know you, and it doesn't care. Become invisible. Become emotionless. Flow with probability. Learn to lose with elegance, with art. Because at the end of controlled losses lies a treasure of profits that the other 95% will never touch. So the final question is this: do you dare to become a great loser in order to win in the end? Only you can answer that in the darkness of your room and under the cold blue light of your trading screen tonight. If you've already learned to let go of that arrogant ego that wants to be always right, then pull your chair closer. I'm about to hand you a key to a vault, not a magical indicator drawing red-green spaghetti on a chart, not some secret insider whisper. This key is cold, dry, and brutally honest. It is the only thing in finance that never lies: mathematics. More specifically, the math of asymmetry. Look around. What's the crowd obsessed with? A meaningless number: the win rate. Scroll through forums or group chats and you'll see people bragging about lush green trade histories. I won 10 trades in a row. My system is 90% accurate. Those numbers shine like gold, attracting thousands of moths into applause. But do you know what's terrifying? The traders with 90% win rates are usually the ones who die the fastest. Why? Imagine a man playing a game called picking up loose coins in front of a bulldozer. He bends down and grabs one coin. He wins. The bulldozer is still far away. He grabs the second coin, wins again. He does this 99 times and proudly thumps his chest, convinced he's a genius with a perfect record. But on the 100th time when he bends down, the bulldozer rolls over him. All 99 coins are pulverized, along with him. That's the tragedy of traders who take tiny profits but hold massive losses. They win 9 trades, each earning just enough spare change to feel good. But a single losing trade they refuse to cut, a single black swan event, wipes out all 9 wins, then eats into their principal, their rent money, their car money. A high win rate is a seductive trap. It lulls you into false safety, then kills you in one moment of complacency. So what do the Wall Street wizards, the market's old wolves, do instead? They invert the game. They play asymmetry. They don't pick up pennies. They hunt elephants. The core concept, the essence you must carve into your brain, is the risk to reward ratio, or simply RR. Think of it like this. Every time you enter a trade, you're placing a ticket on the table. You tell the market, I'm willing to lose $1 if I'm wrong, but if I'm right, you must give me 3, a 1-to-3 ratio. It sounds simple, but its power is more explosive than any financial nuclear weapon. Let's run a mental experiment. Suppose I give you a special coin. If it lands heads, you lose $100. If it lands tails, you win $300. Now flip that coin 10 times. And let's assume you're the unluckiest person alive. You miss over and over. Flip 1, loss, minus 100. Flip 2, loss, minus 100. Flip 3, loss, minus 100. Flip 4, flip 5, flip 6, flip 7, pause. You've lost 7 flips in a row. How does it feel? If you were normal, you'd crumble. You'd think, this coin is rigged, I'm useless, this system is garbage, you're down $700. The pain is visceral. Most people quit right here and walk away cursing. But not you. You understand math. You flip again. Flip 8, win. Plus 300. Flip 9, win. Plus 300. Flip 10, win. Plus 300. 10 flips total. You lost 7 times and won 3 times. Your win rate is a pathetic 30%. The crowd sees a loser. But check your pocket. Total loss, 7 times 100 equals $700. Total gain, 3 times 300 equals $900. Net profit, positive $200. Do you see the miracle? You were wrong 70% of the time. The market crushed you repeatedly, yet you still walked away with money. You don't need to outsmart the market. You don't need to predict the future. You only need a mathematical structure with positive expectancy. This is exactly how casinos get rich. They don't win because they cheat. They're the fairest players alive, fair according to the rules they created. In roulette, you have red and black. If that were it, odds would be 50-50. But casinos cleverly add a green 0, and in America, double 0. That tiny asymmetry ensures that in the short run, some players win, some lose. But over millions of spins, the house always wins. They don't care who wins this round. They only care that the rules are enforced. As a professional trader, you must become the casino, not the gambler. Gamblers hope. Casinos use math. When you design a system with a 1-to-3 or 1-to-4 RR, you are building your own house edge. Every losing trade is simply an operating cost, just like electricity bills for a casino. It is not a personal failure. So why? After knowing this secret, do 95% still fail? Because of the paradox of comfort. To achieve a 1-to-3 ratio, you must do extremely uncomfortable things. You must buy when the market is bleeding, when fear grips the crowd, because that's when risk is low and upside is high. Or you must short sell when the market is euphoric. High RR trades often look ugly and terrifying at entry. Meanwhile, the trades that feel safe and comfortable, like buying after a strong rally, usually have horrible RR. Massive risk, little reward left. Humans instinctively seek comfort. They want to enter when everything looks obvious. But in trading, obvious means too late. When everything is obvious, the ratio is no longer 1-to-3, it's 3-to-1. Another weapon is sniper-level patience. Imagine you're a sniper on a hill with only 3 bullets. Your mission is to eliminate a high-value target. Do you spray bullets into every bush because you heard a noise? No, you wait. Rain, heat, insects, you remain still. You wait for the perfect moment when the wind stops and the target fully reveals itself. Then one shot. Done. Most traders today are machine gunners. They fire non-stop, 1-minute chart, 5-minute chart. They fear missing out. They want to make money every hour. But high-quality 1-to-3, 1-to-5 opportunities don't appear every minute. They take time to form. To earn big profits, you must pay the price of boredom. George Soros said, if investing is entertaining, if you're having fun, you're probably not making money. Good investing is boring. It's boring because you must wait. You must sit still while the market moves without you, because the RR isn't ready. You must restrain your addiction to action. But remember the coin example. Patience compounds. A single 1-to-5 trade doesn't just cover 3 or 4 prior losses. It builds a capital buffer. This buffer is crucial. When you're trading with profit cushion, you trade with clarity and confidence. When you're trading from a hole, thanks to taking tiny profits and holding massive losses, the pressure to recover drives you into stupidity. Markets follow the Pareto rule. 80% of the time, they chop sideways. only 20% of the time they trend strongly. High win rate hunters try to make money inside the noisy 80%. They get chewed up. High RR traders accept the small losses inside the noise. They let the market trick them repeatedly. But they stay. They lie in ambush. And when that 20% trend hits, they catch it from the bottom and ride it to the top. One single trade can fund their entire year. Don't try to be a weather forecaster. Don't try to guess tomorrow's rain or sunshine. Be the umbrella seller. If it's sunny, you sell a little or lose the booth fee. But when the storm hits, you empty your entire inventory at premium prices. Your job is to ask, if I enter here, what's my downside? And if I'm right, how wide is the sky above? If risk is one wall and reward is the entire sky, pull the trigger. Even if the trade loses, it's still an excellent trade. Never forget, a disciplined losing trade is a good trade. A lucky winning trade that breaks your rules is a terrible trade. That lucky win will corrupt your subconscious, and sooner or later, it will reclaim everything. You are holding God's formula in your hands. Accept human imperfection, but use mathematical structure to conquer chaos. You don't need to win every small battle to win the war. You can lose repeatedly, battered and bruised. But as long as you protect the RR principle, you'll be the last person standing on the ashes with the treasure. But there is one more enemy. An enemy not in the market, not in the math. This enemy lives inside your chest. When your profit reaches 1 to 2, your heart will pound. A tiny voice will scream, take it before the market turns. How do you silence that voice? How do you stare at dancing profit without flinching? How do you cultivate the unshaken mind in a world of chaos? That is the domain of emotional control and position sizing, something we will dissect to the core in the next chapter. Because even if you have the perfect rifle, trembling hands will still make you miss every shot. You've already embraced the mindset of accepting losses. You're armed with the powerful 1 to 3 risk to reward weapon. But why do I still see the Grim Reaper hovering over your shoulder? Why do traders who understand the holy grail of RR still manage to blow up overnight? The answer lies in a word that sounds dry, but has spilled more blood in financial history than any recession ever has: position size. Imagine you're a general marching into war. You have brilliant strategy. You have elite soldiers. But in the very first battle, you get consumed by excitement and roar. Full assault. Everyone, charge. You throw your entire army into a single gamble. What happens if the enemy is lying in ambush? You lose everything. No one survives to retreat. No chance to recover. That is the death of going all in. In trading, the biggest enemy is not the market. It's your own hunger to get rich now. You see a chart that looks perfect. Every indicator agrees. News supports your bias. You whisper to yourself, this is it, the life-changing trade. And instead of risking a small amount, you borrow more. You max out the margin. You want to double your account today. You want the house and the car tomorrow. But the market is a wild animal. Even a setup with a 90% probability still carries a 10% chance of failure. And Murphy's Law always lurks behind you. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong, and precisely when you least expect it. Your sure win trade suddenly reverses. Price collapses. Your account evaporates. 50%, 70%, then nothing. You're kicked out of the game forever. Your method was right. Your mindset was right. But your position sizing was fatal. And you paid for that mistake with your financial life. Now, here's the first grade math problem that 99% of adults fail. The math of recovery. Listen carefully. This should make your spine tingle. Lose 10%, you need 11% to break even. Lose 20%, you need 25%. Still manageable. But lose 50%? You think you only need 50% to recover? Wrong. When your account is cut in half, you need 100%, a full doubling, just to get back to where you started. Lose 90%? You need an absurd 900% return to break even. The deeper the hole, the steeper its walls, and the more impossible to climb. This is the death spiral. When you bet big and lose big, you don't just lose money, you lose the ability to recover. So what's the secret of the sharks who survive decades? They never fall into that hole. They strap themselves with seatbelts so tight, it's almost suffocating. Their golden rule: never risk more than 1 to 2% of total capital per trade. I know exactly what you're thinking. 1%? Too small. If I have $1,000, 1% is 10 bucks. How will I ever get rich? That's greed talking. Shut it up. If you risk 1% per trade, you would need to lose 100 trades in a row to blow the account. Do you truly believe you're unlucky enough to lose 100 straight? Even a monkey throwing darts at a chart wouldn't lose that consistently. The 1% rule isn't designed to make you rich quickly. It's your bulletproof vest. It ensures that no matter what insanity the market throws at you today, you walk away losing no more than 1%. You still have 99% of your soldiers alive. You still have a life. In trading, as long as you have money, you have opportunity. Lose all of it, and every piece of knowledge becomes worthless. But here's the real magic of small position size: psychology. Think about how you feel when you enter a position that's way too big. Your heart pounds, your eyes glue to the screen, you fear going to the bathroom, you don't dare eat. Every tick feels like a knife across your skin. In that panic, your brain shuts down. Your reptilian brain takes control. You slam the stop button right at the bottom at the slightest wiggle, or you instantly grab profits because you're terrified to lose. Your 1 to 3 RR collapses into dust. You cannot hold winners. You cannot remain calm. You're a slave to fear. But when you only risk 1%, something magical happens. You enter the wu-wei state. You place the trade, close your laptop, and sleep like a baby. Because the worst case scenario is, so what? I lose 1%. That carefree attitude, that cold detachment, is precisely what lets you win big. No fear, patience. No pressure, clarity. You observe the market instead of being devoured by it. The paradox is brutal. To make big money, you must not care about the money. And the only way to not care is to trade small. Look at casinos again. Why do billion-dollar casinos impose table limits? Is it because they fear you winning? Partly, but the real reason is risk management. They don't want a single lucky gambler wiping them out in one hand. So they divide risk into millions of small bets. They let the law of large numbers work for them. You must turn your account into a miniature casino. Stop searching for the big short. Start hunting thousands of small, boring, disciplined trades. The sniper metaphor says it best. A machine gunner fires 1,000 bullets hoping one hits. He runs out of ammo and dies while reloading. A sniper carries 10 bullets. Each one is calculated: wind, distance, timing. He never fires unless the shot is clean. And above all, he always saves one bullet to escape. In trading, cash is ammunition. Cash is a position. Standing aside is a strategic decision. Don't let the mindset, money must always be working, push you into overtrading. Now combine everything. Probability thinking, mathematical edge, capital protection, 1% rule. You are, theoretically, an indestructible tank. You cannot be killed. But, and there is always that cursed but, why do traders who can recite these rules by heart still click buy while price is collapsing? Why do they widen their stop out of desperation? Why do they break discipline at the exact moment discipline matters most? Because we are not robots. We are emotional creatures ruled by brain chemistry. There is a demon living inside every trader, the demon called trading psychology. And to slay that demon, math is no longer enough. You need something else. Something forged only through discipline, awareness, and the inner training of a warrior monk. Have you ever wondered why doctors, engineers, and lawyers, the sharpest minds in society, step into the stock market only to lose money like clueless beginners? They have sky-high IQ. They can digest the most complex books. They understand R to R by heart, and they know the 1% rule I talked about earlier. Yet the moment the market opens and the red-green numbers start flashing, they throw everything out the window. They turn into wild animals driven by fear and greed. Why is the distance between your brain and your mouse-clicking finger so impossibly far? Why do we know exactly what we should do, yet still do the opposite? Welcome to the inner war, where your only enemy isn't sharks, isn't market makers, but the animal inside your human. This is a battle against biological instincts millions of years old. Your brain was designed for the jungle, not for trading on Wall Street. When our ancestors saw a lion, the brain screamed, "Run or die." That's fear. When they found food, the brain shouted, "Eat it before someone else does." That's greed and hoarding. Those instincts helped humans survive the Ice Age, but ironically, they are poison in financial markets. Let's start with the first demon, FOMO, fear of missing out. You watch a stock all week. You analyze it thoroughly. You wait for it to pull back to 10 to buy, but it only dips to 10.5 before shooting to 12, 13, 15. You watch the bullet train leave the station without you. A knot tightens in your chest. You feel stupid for being too stingy over a few pennies. Then when it hits 20 and the news begins pumping nonstop praise, you can't take it anymore. The pain of being left behind is worse than losing money. You convince yourself, it's still early, it's going higher, I have to get in now. You buy the top. Boom. It reverses. You just became liquidity for those who bought at 10. FOMO doesn't just take your money, it crushes your self-respect. You knew you were wrong, but your craving to belong to the crowd overpowered your logic. The second demon is even more vicious, revenge trading, the #1 account killer. The script is always the same. You take a stop loss, you lose money. It's a small, disciplined loss, but your ego is wounded. You feel like the market just mugged you and laughed in your face. Your blood boils, your breath quickens. A dark thought erupts. I'm getting it back, right now. Instead of walking away, you hunt for the next trade in a blind rage. Everything looks like an entry. You double your size to recover fast. You lose again. Now you're furious. You go all in. You want to bleed the market dry, and in just 30 minutes of madness, you torch the profits of the past 3 months. When the rage fades, you stare blankly at the screen, wondering what demon possessed you. That wasn't you. That was a wounded animal, tightening the noose the more it struggled. And then comes the sweetest, deadliest demon, hope. In life, hope is beautiful. It keeps us going. But in trading, hope is the vocabulary of losers. When you're holding a losing trade, logic whispers, structure is broken, cut it. But hope murmurs, just wait, it'll bounce, just let it get back to break even, please. You turn trading into a religious ritual. You pray instead of acting. You freeze, your loss drifts from -5% to -10 to -30. Now it's too big to cut. You surrender. You become a long-term investor against your will. George Soros never hopes. He acts. If he's wrong, he cuts. If he's right, he holds. No emotion, no prayer. So how do you defeat these demons? How do you keep a cold head in a furnace? The answer lies in acceptance and detachment. First, accept that you are not a machine. You will always feel fear, greed, regret. Don't suppress it. Pressure only makes it explode later. Instead, observe it. When revenge urges rise, pause for 5 seconds. Tell yourself, oh, interesting, anger is coming. I want to take a revenge trade right now. The moment you name the emotion, you separate yourself from it. You become the observer, not the puppet. Second, build a wall of rules. Why can firefighters run into burning buildings without panicking? Because they've practiced the protocol thousands of times. No thinking, just execution. You need the same standard operating procedure. Write it down. Tape it to your monitor. Only trade when all 3 signals A, B, and C align. If you lose 2 trades in a row, shut down. Sleep. This rule alone kills revenge trading. Never add size into a losing position. Become a robot. Robots don't celebrate wins or mourn losses. They execute code, turn on the screen, check signals. If they're there, enter. If not, walk away. Win, lock it. Lose, cut it. Consistent, mechanical, boring. And that boredom is the pinnacle of professionalism. If your heart still races, you're gambling or sizing way too big. Third, separate your self-worth from your account balance. Many men treat the number in their trading account as a measure of intelligence or masculinity. When they win, they feel like kings. When they lose, they feel useless. This emotional fusion makes losses unbearable. Remember, a losing trade simply means your system didn't match the market at that moment. It says nothing about your value as a person. Losing money today doesn't make you incompetent. It's just a business expense. Trading is like running a clothing store. If it rains and nobody buys, you still pay rent. Do you go home and smash your furniture? No. You clean up and wait for the sun tomorrow. Cultivate a mindset of effortless action. Picture yourself standing by a river, watching the water flow. The market is that river. Sometimes calm, sometimes violent. You don't try to block it. You don't force it to reverse. You don't get angry at it. You simply observe. When a log floats by a setup, you pick it up. If you miss it, smile and let it go. Another one will always come. The river never runs out of opportunity. Only your capital and patience are finite. This psychological battle lasts a lifetime. You will never completely kill fear or greed, but you can cage them. You can train them. Every time you cut a loss correctly, even if it hurts, reward yourself with a good coffee. Tell yourself, nice, you just saved the account. Every time you resist FOMO, be proud. These tiny mental victories, compounded over years, forge steel. And when you master your inner demons, when you have your method, R to R, and your shield, risk management, you're finally ready to climb the last staircase, the staircase that separates an amateur trader from a Wall Street legend. Consistency. How do you maintain peak performance for 10, 20 years, not just one lucky month? How do you turn trading from a gamble into a cash flow machine? That brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, the relentless discipline of a monk. We've walked a long road through the darkness. You learned how to bow your head before the market, mindset. You sharpened your mathematical blade. You put on your armor of capital protection, 1% rule. And you learned how to leash the demon inside your mind, psychology. In theory, you have everything you need to win. But take a look at the graveyard of Wall Street. Beneath those tombstones lie the corpses of traders who knew all of this too. They were smart. They were disciplined for a short while, but they still fell. Why? Because trading is not an action. Trading is a lifestyle. The difference between a shooting star that flares and dies and a sun that burns forever comes down to one word: consistency. Anyone, even a fool, can make money in a wild bull market. Anyone can get lucky with a 5-trade winning streak. But to survive 10 years, 20 years, to turn a small stake into a massive fortune, you don't need fireworks. You need boredom. Yes, you heard that right. The great boredom. Look at the assembly lines inside a factory. They move in steady rhythm, day after day, producing millions of identical products. No emotions, no surprises, no drama. That is how money is made. A professional trader operates like a factory. Wake up, drink your coffee, open the charts. Does your system give a valid signal? Yes, enter. Set the stop loss. Set the take profit. Shut down the screen. No, close the laptop. Go live your life. Repeat that process thousands of times. It is so monotonous that thrill seekers would lose their minds. But inside that stoic boredom, compound interest is quietly performing its magic. If you wake up every day wondering, what will the market do today? Will I win or lose today? Then I'm sorry, you're still a gambler. A professional assassin doesn't get nervous when he draws his weapon. He simply does his job. To reach this state of the way, you need a mirror that reflects your soul. This mirror is your trading journal. Don't mistake it for a simple notebook where you jot down entry and exit prices. That's just the surface. A trading journal is where you confess your sins. Why did you take that trade? Because it aligned with your system, or because you were bored and wanted to click something? Why did you move your stop loss? Because the market structure changed, or because you were scared? When you write these things down, you drag your inner demon into the light. You have no choice but to face your weaknesses. You'll start noticing patterns. Every time I argue with my wife, I trade recklessly. Every Monday morning I tend to FOMO. You can only correct a flaw once you recognize it. Most traders lose because they are lazy. They refuse to confront their mistakes. They want to forget the pain of a losing trade quickly so they can jump into the next one. But a monk does the opposite. He digs into the wound, he extracts the lesson, and he ensures he never trips over the same stone twice. The way of trading is also a path of proud solitude. Notice how true masters speak very little. They don't flaunt profits on social media. They don't argue in forums about whether price will rise or fall. They don't hand out trade signals in group chats or Telegram channels. Why? Because they know crowd opinion is poison. Once you share your trade with others, your ego fuses with that position. You want it to win so people will praise you, and when it starts losing, you refuse to cut it because you fear embarrassment. The monk trader trades in silence. He sees the market as a dojo for cultivating character. Every price movement is a test of calmness. Market up, good. Market down, good. Market flat, still good. He flows with the river. No resistance, no judgment. He becomes invisible. And finally, let's return to the title of this entire series: Lose often, yet still be profitable. This is not just mathematics. It is a philosophy of life. Life works the same way. You will stumble. You will fail in relationships. You will fail in your early business ventures. You will be rejected, discouraged, even broken. But does any of that matter? No. What matters is whether you stay down or whether you rise, dust yourself off, and walk forward with greater wisdom. The scars on your body are not signs of defeat. They are medals of survival. On Wall Street, people don't admire the trader who has never lost. They respect the one who blew up an account, went bankrupt, stood on the edge of despair, and still came back, quietly rebuilt with iron discipline, and reclaimed everything from the jaws of death. That is the essence of Wall Street. Not the glamour of supercars and champagne parties, but the image of a person sitting alone at night, calm as a still autumn lake, willingly taking the small slaps of the market, small stop losses, all while awaiting the one decisive sword strike, big win. He accepts losing the meaningless small battles to win the war of a lifetime. Now turn off your screen. Don't rush to deposit more money. Don't rush to chase losses. Look in the mirror. Who is that person staring back at you? A thirsty gambler hoping to get rich overnight? Or a warrior monk ready to spend 10 years sharpening a single blade? The market will still be there tomorrow, next year, and forever. Opportunities are endless. Money is endless. Only your patience and discipline are finite. Protect them. Nurture them, and one day when you look back, you'll find that you've not only become wealthy, you've become unbreakable, fearless, and completely free. Welcome to the path of the great losers. Welcome to the world of the 5% who win. Knowledge is everywhere on Google, but resilience is forged in blood and tears. Do you want to remain a sheep for the market to shear, or will you rise as a lone wolf, scarred but proud? At Trading Mindset Lab, we speak the raw truth about this game. The truth may sting, but it will save your capital. If you're ready to confront yourself, hit subscribe right now. Together, we'll destroy illusions and build an empire from the smallest acts of discipline. Join Trading Mindset Lab today. Let's go to war.